Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Chris Rabbitt is one of the founders of Mee-ow, an online networking platform that's really quite different to anything else I've come across. Chris, thank you very much for being my podcast guest today.
Thank you for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Now, Chris, you're the founder or one of the founders of the Mee-ow network and a director of Carrot, which we'll come back to in a second. But first of all, I'd like to know about your background. What has been your career journey?
Well, I'm a bit of a mongrel, really, it has to be said. Most of my career has been spent convincing people to buy things, so in sales, or helping people to buy things, as I like to frame it. But I've also run a catering business. I've been a chef, and all sorts of other weird and wonderful diversions. But yeah, my main skill set is sort of sales and commercial stuff, really. So that's where I started. Started as a recruiter, but I am a nice person, everybody. I'm not instantly affiliated with the devil as far as that's concerned. I always try to do things quite well, and quite ethically. And sort of fell out of love with that industry really because it just didn't fit with me. And then, all sorts of other sectors. I sold beer to work in men's clubs for a while. That was like working in my own version of Phoenix Nights. Phoenix Nights is actually a documentary, if you didn't know it. It's all true. And then ended up as the sales director of an education and training business, and that's when I moved over to being self-employed, if you like. So.
Right. So tell me about Carrot. What do you do and who do you help?
So Carrot's actually very much taken a back seat now. Mee-ow's sort of the big influence in my life. But Carrot was my consultancy business, really. I used to be a portfolio sales director and still do a little bit here and there, but not nearly as much as I used to do. But what I used to do there is work with businesses to help them go to market more effectively. It's as simple as that. So whether that's working with their sales teams to help them perform more effectively, or working through their offer, or actually making sure that they are profitable in what they're doing. I work with a huge variety of businesses, everything from a sort of £1 million face-to-face training business, all the way through to a £30 million food distributor. And everything in between. Because I'm very, very much of the opinion that sales is sales is sales. It doesn't really matter what your product set is or what your market is, as long as you learn to speak the language. The fundamental principles are the same all the way through.
Now, I noticed from your LinkedIn profile that you're also a founder of something called Yorkshire Bikers in Business, so I'd love to know more about that.
Well, it's really just a cheeky way to make sure you can put some petrol on expenses, if I'm honest. But no, for me, there's a huge culture of guys and girls who run businesses in Yorkshire who ride bikes, motorbikes, and in my experience, and one of the things, the sort of strap line for that group is, we all know bikers are wonderful human beings, so why not come and network with people who fit what you do? And actually, there's a real community there of people who just enjoy going out, riding bikes, and working together and helping each other. Really, Yorkshire's got some of the best roads in the world, I think, for going out and having a little pootle on the motorbike. So it's just loads of fun. We don't meet up as often as we should, but it is loads of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and it sounds like networking is something that you enjoy doing. And I guess that's probably how Mee-ow came about, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone that knows me, and it doesn't really take an awful lot of digging to find out, is that I think networking is life, basically. I love people. I love talking to people. I love putting people together. My mind works like a constantly rotating Rolodex, and with the right cues, I think everyone can do the same. Is all the biggest opportunities I've ever had, whether it be in recruitment or in sales or whatever, have come from places that I didn't expect them to come from. And for me, networking is all about giving yourself the best chance of being in the right spot when that lightning bolt strikes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you, and this is one of the reasons we set up Mee-ow, I suppose, is that we are trying to disrupt the idea that you can ever be in control of what the outcomes of networking are.
Mm-hmm.
So lots and lots of people who I speak to get very, very hot under the collar when they say, well, how can I possibly get anything out of networking in a room full of people that I don't know who are there? I have to be in control. I have to know that I'm with the right people and I'm talking to the right people. And I'm like, well, this is not a sales meeting.
No.
It is not a sales meeting. Networking is not about selling, and anybody that says it is just totally wrong as far as I'm concerned. Networking is about being able to expand your network, be able to add value to your network, and it is the truest thing in the world that what goes around comes around.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So when did Mee-ow actually start?
So we started in the teeth of the pandemic. We started in April 2020.
Right.
Simon, my co-founder, had the actual idea of this, and we called it a Zoom a day, and was basically doing it to look after himself. It's because he, like me, got all his business from networking, and when he saw everyone needs to go to lockdown prison for 12 weeks, he saw the credit crunch. And he panicked. He thought, well, everyone's budget's going to get rolled up and put under the mattress. There's going to be no work. Simon's a graphic designer, by the way. Mm-hmm. There's going to be no work. And even worse than that, I can't go out to network to get more.
Yeah.
So he just panicked. And at that point, set up this Zoom a day thing, which said, right, okay, well, online networking is good, but big 50-person online networking meetings are frankly horrible. Mm-hmm. You know, you might as well be a spectator, turn your camera off, do the ironing, or in some people's cases, forget to turn your camera off and do the ironing. And he hated that. There's just no value coming from it. So he set up what he called a Zoom a day, which is 4 people in a room. And he thought, well, I've got nothing else to do, so I'll do that every day. Mm-hmm. And within an hour of posting his first sort of ad for it on LinkedIn, he was full for the following day. And by the time he got to the end of that meeting, he was full for the week. And by the end of the week, he was booked up for 6 weeks in advance.
Wow.
And one of those meetings I booked. So I got on about 5 weeks into the whole thing. Because my business, Carrot had taken a bullet to the back of the head from the pandemic. My clients were panicking and stopping spending and all sorts of reasons, but you know, none of them really very valid. And I'm sitting there wringing my hands, wondering what the bloody hell I was going to do. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, you know, I've got to do some more networking. So I did the big rooms thing, and I hated that. And actually, I'd known Simon, so I jumped on one of these. Couldn't get on for 5 weeks. So I arrived at that meeting just as Simon had done the very, very early planning for trying to turn it into a business because it was so successful.
Yeah. And
he happened to mention that to me. And because that's pretty much what I've done forever, I said, well, let me have a look at your plan. Do you want me to sense check your plan? Do you want me to have a look at it for you? And he said, yeah, of course. So I said, right, don't go anywhere at the end of the meeting and we'll do that. So I had a look, and I basically at that point realised that this was going to be huge. Mm-hmm. That the sort of the world had turned, if you like. We were never going back to the way things were before, which I think is a brilliant thing, by the way. And I jumped in with both feet and said, hey, you know, can I get in? Do you need some money? Can I invest? Can I get involved? Because I think this is a brilliant idea, but you can't do it the way that you're planning to, which was to keep Zoom and Calendly and bolt it all together with a website. I said, you can't do that. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, we're going to build our own platform. And he looked at me like I was an absolute lunatic. He said, have you ever done that before? I said, no. He said, well, I've never done it before. I said, okay. He said, have you got any money? I said, some. He said, well, I haven't got any. And I said, well, don't worry about that. I'll sort that. We'll find it, but this is what we're going to do. Mm. And he looked at me and went, you're an idiot, but let's have a crack at it. And that was 2 years ago, pretty much. You know, we'll be 2 years old. Actually, the business was incorporated in May, but that'll be 2 years ago. And it's aged me about 15 years, to be honest. But it's been so much fun. I think, people say about startups is you'll never work as hard, you'll never earn as little, and you'll never have so much fun. And it's absolutely true. This has been the hardest thing I've ever done. But it's by far and away been the most fun.
Yeah. Mee-ow is very different to other online networks. So can you describe for us how it works?
Yeah. I think the best way to do that, first off, is to tell you what it's not. So networking online, I think still in the majority of cases, is lots of people who had networking businesses before the world changed.
Yeah.
And what they try to do is move those experiences online in a sort of wholesale way. And I think as long as your group size isn't too big, that'll work. But what it does is take away the intrinsic benefit of being online, which is you can cover so much more ground.
Yes.
It makes no sense for me to do a regional networking group online.
Yeah.
Because I want to see people, I want to touch people, I want to be in people's space. I love people. And for a regional event, you need to go and get amongst people and talk to them and be around them. And that's the best way those work, because those sorts of groups are sort of comfy and reassuring and give you a place to hang out. And there's absolutely a place for those, but I don't really think they work best online. Whereas what we try and do is give people the opportunity to cover as much ground as possible while still retaining that sort of sense of intimacy and humanity and the ability to make a genuine connection. And that's why there's only ever 4 people in our rooms.
Yeah.
Is that any more than that, you have to be sort of selective and exclusive about who you allow to talk. There has to be a degree of self-policing. You have to mute yourself. You have to make sure that you're not intruding on people's space, and it becomes very, very difficult to actually have a conversation because people talk in a very different way to the way people present.
Yes.
And you need to be able to talk over each other. You need to be able to interrupt a little bit. You need to be able to, grunt agreement without muting everybody else's microphones in the process. And Zoom is terrible for that. The second you make a noise, everyone else's microphones are dumbed down.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get that. It's great for meetings, but it's no good for networking. And so everyone's mics are open, cameras are on, and you have a proper conversation. And that doesn't necessarily need to be about, hello, my name is Chris, and I run a networking business, and I am looking for. That's anathema to us, really. Is you do your pitch. And the questions and interest comes from your little pitch at the start, but that's really a getting to know you thing. And then you speak for 45 minutes about whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, we see it every single day. Good stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's not a business development tool. Sorry, that's not true. It's a great way of getting new clients, but that's not why you turn up there. So many people get business first, second meeting that they attend, but that's not what we're sending them there for. We're sending them there to make connections, to broaden their horizons, to get help, to make new business friends, all the other stuff that is great online. You can speak to someone in Scotland 1 hour and in Nova Scotia the next.
Yeah.
And we've got Meowists all over the Western Hemisphere now.
Fantastic. Why is it called Mee-ow? Is there a reason?
Yeah, there's nothing to do with cats, I'm afraid. It's meet now smashed together.
Uh-huh.
Simon's a branding guy, and very good he is too, and we look as good as we do because of him. And because Mee-ow was foisted upon me, I didn't like it at the start, but I love it now. But he wanted something that was easy and sort of non-language dependent. So a sort of a noise word.
Yes.
That just happened to be, meet now.
Yeah.
Smash it together and it's Mee-ow.
Yeah.
Anyone that's ever sat and started a business, particularly a digital business, you'll be familiar with the phrase domain name desperation. And that's okay. We've had a brilliant idea for a company and we're going to call it this. And so the first thing you do is you go online and you go looking for the domain and it's taken.
Yeah.
And you're like, bugger. Right. What else can we call it that's almost as good? Right, so we'll call it that. And you go online and you find the domain and it's taken. And you're like, ugh. And you end up running down to your fourth or fifth idea on the list. You think, right, okay, we're going to try this one. Is the domain available? Yes. And that's that. And so Mee-ow was available, and that was presented to me as a fait accompli. And I said, really, Mee-ow? And he's like, yeah, trust me. And he told me exactly that same process. I'm like, okay, fine.
No, I think it works. And as you say, meet now, so people can use it at any time of day?
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is we have a sort of quite a grandiose sort of mission statement, which is to democratise the world of business networking. And what I mean by that is, if you are somebody who has to do things in the morning or is unable to do stuff after work, now whether that be, you've got childcare commitments or you simply cannot make time outside of the working day, or any time really, then you are denied the ability to network most of the time. So you can't go to breakfast meetings, you can't go to after work stuff, and if you're as busy as I am, networking during the day is almost impossible.
Yeah.
So what we thought is, right, okay, well, no travel. That's the great thing about online.
Yes.
No travel. And let's do it every hour. For the time being, let's do it every hour. Because that means whenever you want to. If for argument's sake, I hadn't turned up to our appointment today, and all of a sudden an hour opens up in front of you, and you think, right, I have nothing planned for this hour, and in order to get myself up to speed, it's probably going to take an hour. So I'll tell you what, I won't interrupt my day. I'll just jump on, do some networking, and then I'll be back in the land of work an hour later, knowing what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So you actually have a productive hour rather than one that gets sort of washed away with, other bits.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is you dip in, you dip out. It doesn't, it is 60 minutes of your life, and it can make a massive difference. That's what we set out to do. We are getting there. The whole thing depends on there being lots and lots of people in there in order to facilitate that all the time, and we are getting there. I think it's the usual thing about when you start any sort of community, you have to be, you've got to build that community.
Yes.
And we're nearly at the point where you can use the platform at any time, and you're pretty much guaranteed to be in a meeting with people.
Yeah.
It was the real challenge that we had early doors was, quite honestly, and if you're one of these people, I really apologise, is that sometimes we were disappointing our users by not providing them with people to meet. But we're almost beyond that now. The platform works an awful lot better. It's a wonderful experience now, in terms of user experience and the ease of use and all the rest of it. And we're pushing on with making sure that more and more people know about it. So actually, hopefully we start to become into that sort of self-fulfilling prophecy thing now, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And because you're open 24 hours, of course, anyone from anywhere in the world can join in, presumably.
Correct. To be fair, that is our ultimate sort of success criteria, if you like. We're not really interested in anything else. The overriding mission for us is anybody, anywhere in the world, at any time of day or night, can click to get into a meeting and be in it within 30 seconds. That's our mission, is to put enough people into that platform all over the world that it means that you can be in within 30 seconds. So that doesn't mean you have to wait for the hour. You can come on at 17 minutes past 3 and think, right, I fancy a chat with somebody, so cool, I'll click the button and we'll put you in a room with someone who is, 3 people who are appropriate for you to talk to, who you are likely to get on with. And that's actually really important, is that we don't match people up based on what they want. And it's really interesting that we make sure we don't put people with people they don't want to meet.
Yeah.
So if you're apparently financial advisors get a bit fighty when they get put in a room together. So we try and keep them apart. And that's the same for everyone, really. You don't want to be in a room with lots and lots of people who do exactly the same thing as you. Although actually there's lots of magic to happen there as well, but people tend not to want to do that.
Yeah.
But we put people together based on how they communicate, and if we do that, you find that you get much more snappy conversations, much more interesting conversations, because people are talking to people who are like them.
Yeah.
The same sort of people professionally, but they communicate in a similar way.
Yeah. And I know you've got a couple of things on the platform. If conversation's stalling, you've got some things to help the conversation flow again. Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah. The whole democratisation piece is there to make sure that, time and place is important, but people have also got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly if you are, not the sort of person who enjoys elbowing their way into a knot of people in a networking meeting, a physical networking meeting. On the platform, there's some tools there where if you are a bit stuck for something to say, you can click a little button and only you know you're doing it. So, and little questions will appear in the other person's windows. And you can keep clicking that as long as you want until you find a question that you like.
Yeah.
And that maybe fits with you or maybe fits with the conversation that you're having. And keep clicking and you go, yes, what are your views on bacon sandwiches? And someone goes, bacon sandwiches, of course, well, wonderful. Why didn't you mention that earlier? And these are my thoughts. And you get going again.
Yeah.
And those sorts of questions, actually, I say bacon sandwiches, those questions are quite business orientated.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another feature on the platform which we call a boost, conversation booster, which is absolutely not business orientated. And that will ask you questions like, when were you most embarrassed in your life? Or tell me about a time where you really got stuff wrong. Or, do you have red or brown sauce on a bacon butty? Stuff that you would never think to ask in a professional meeting.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that is so you find stuff out about people that you wouldn't think to ask. It makes the whole experience more human.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think lots of us are very guilty sometimes of trying to put this veneer on when we go, I must be professional and I must project this image of success and, crisp professional demeanour. And actually, people don't want crisp professional demeanour. People want to see that you've got a bit of dirt under your fingernails and that you are just like them.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we're all winging it together.
Yeah.
And we're desperately trying to convince people that we're not. And actually, the real connection comes when you go, hey, listen, I'm just like you. Let's try and help each other.
Yeah. Now, I know that Mee-ow was mentioned in The Guardian quite recently. Has that been really good publicity for you?
I was delighted by that. It was actually it was in a bit of advertorial, but it wasn't our advertorial. It was Virgin Media's advertorial, and we were approached by the journalist writing that article to say, hey, I'm doing an article about connectivity and how that helps business. I really like what you're doing there. Can we talk about how that works for you? And I'm like, bloody right, you can. Because, it's that level of exposure is brilliant. The received kudos you get as a very young company by being featured in something like that is just great. And if nothing else, it makes Simon and I feel wonderful.
Yeah, so it should.
It's all about vanity as far as that's concerned, and I love it. But getting the message out to lots and lots of people is the most important part for us. And yes, we've seen quite a good uptick in hits to the site and people taking a trial and all that good stuff. And it just happened to coincide with the fact that we've just relaunched our marketing campaign. So we've now got, there's videos on YouTube that you can watch. There's ads on Facebook that you might have been bothered with, apologies. And, other bits and pieces that we're doing to try and, get the word out there again. And that's just happened at just the right time. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, that's really good. So tell me about the trial then. How can people try Mee-ow out?
It is dead easy. Go to meow.com, click take a trial, put your email address in, answer a few questions about yourself, which is all for your profile purposes, and you're in. There's no card details, you don't need to commit to anything, we won't charge you when your trial is ended. It's absolutely fascinating, the terror that is instilled in people these days about they're going to charge me at the end of my trial, even if they know they haven't put card details in. It's like, my trial's coming to an end and I haven't used it. You're not going to charge me, are you? I said, I'd love to be able to charge you, but there's absolutely no way I can do that unless I come and take some money out of your pocket. But yeah, it's totally free. Come and use it, come and try it, and if you don't like it, walk away and nothing bad will happen.
Yeah.
But the people who do take the trial, who do actually use the service when they come on, they're sticking around because they they like it.
Yeah.
So and that's great. I love to see that continuity. So you see it. Dave took a trial today and he did a meeting today and he's booked on 2 for tomorrow and he's going to do one on Monday, and Dave's going to stay.
Yeah.
You know it. It's the ones that you can see people who take a trial and like, oh, they haven't booked any meetings yet, what they're doing, and you pretty much know that they're not going to stay.
Yeah.
But we all do it. We all take trials and stuff and sort of forget. So if anyone has taken a trial and they didn't use it and they want to have another go, let me know.
That's brilliant. So that's lovely. So do you want to give us the website address, Chris?
Yeah, it's www.meow, that's meow.com. Very easy. Come and join us. It's fun.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. That's been fascinating. And it sounds like you've got lots of plans for Mee-ow for the future. So best of luck with everything.
Yeah, loads of new stuff coming on, lots of new functionality, loads of ways to get out on socials to promote yourself and the people that you're meeting. So yeah, come and give it a try. And thank you ever so much for letting me gibber at you for 10 minutes.
You're most welcome, Chris.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.